came a time in our older teens when, my middle brother was going through some pretty hard stuff, drug addiction, and he got out of that and cleaned up his life and ended up like serving a mission for our church.
That's not easy.
And yeah, it meant a lot to me that he was doing something that wasn't all for him. That was like, he went to the Philippines.
Yeah.
And I'm just living my life. I was living with like pro skaters in San Diego, and he was in this foreign country, trying to figure it out without toilet paper. And I would get these letters, and I was like, it was just so impressive to me. And so finally he invited me to like study. The best thing you can do is put God first.
All right, Justin Taylor, right?
Yeah.
Dude, what time is it right now?
I don't know. It's like 6:50.
Dude, it's 6:58 in the morning. So Justin and I talked maybe a couple months ago, and you're like, hey, we figured out you're going to be out here in Utah. And we're like, yeah, let's get together and do this. I'm stoked to have you here. You are known for your art. You do videography. Our mutual friend says you're a skater. What does that mean?
It means I grew up in the world of skateboarding, and yeah, like older brother who got me into skating. I won't even tell you how he acquired my first skateboard, but I remember it. And yeah, just grew up in that world, and that's kind of where I found some kind of place where I felt like I could fit in a little bit. The punk rock skateboarding world. Yeah. I grew up pretty self-conscious about I was born with a cleft palate. You can probably tell. So you're pretty aware of that growing up as an adolescent. You walk into a room and you're like, dude, that's what you're thinking. Everybody's looking at. Dude, that.
Honestly, I didn't even know till you said.
Yeah, it's and then you don't know, and then kids start saying stuff. So then you're like, oh, they did, and so you kind of learn to navigate that. But then in like the skateboarding punk rock scene, it was like cool to be a little different or different looking, and it was okay. So that's kind of where I found my place for a long time. Stayed with that. That was just kind of my scene. I played music. I got into playing drums in junior high school. Played in high school. Played in punk rock bands in Vegas.
Dude, when you look back on your childhood, how do you feel about it? Like these experiences?
I love it. Yeah, that's a loaded, layered.
It's a big question. Specifically these
situation.
The cultural stuff you're into. I mean, do you just like still cherish like your identity with the skater and the music and the art?
Yeah, that's totally kind of where I land. It's weird in the last. I don't know how much we want to go off on Little Trail. So,
dude, go on trails.
Like in the skate and snowboard. I don't know, that world. You're kind of. It's not a team. It's not like a traditional sport. Mm-hmm. And so in the last couple of years we moved to Maine to work to help like be on Jocko Willink's team. Jocko Willink, he has a couple brands, he has a couple companies, and I went out there I'm like part of the team that builds that supports his brands.
Do you know him personally?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But that has led me to like I've been learning jujitsu, trying to get into it, and it's like, dude, I don't come from this. That's not me at all.
You don't seem like a very in-your-face aggressive.
No, I've never been in a fight in my life. Never. I've never been in a fight, but I grew up in this scene of like a lot of violence and substance abuse, and that people that I was around were like that. But
dude, how did you navigate that? Because that is a rough. Dude, the 90s were a rough. I mean, like a lot of things. Came to a head with culture and fighting back against parents. I mean, that's when I grew up. That's what it felt like. Totally. So how did you navigate that? What was your home life like?
It was weird. It was like maybe like I think so. Yeah, home life was totally volatile. My parents divorced when I was about like 5 or 6, and my dad is kind of like an extremist, so he just goes hard in whatever he's doing, and he went hard into the biker scene. And
what do you mean biker scene?
Like he was he went so yeah, he was kind of just wanting to live. He grew up religious or in a Christian household, and then just totally wanted to dive into the world of Vegas, and he did. And then my mom was kind of a convert to Christianity, and she was like pretty zealous, pretty like black and white. She still is, but so just polar opposite, like homes to be a part of. Like during the week, we lived with my mom, and then on the weekend it was just RoboCop and like Rambo 3 and like all weekend it was just, and so it was just this total dichotomy of trying to figure out what's up.
So that's completely opposite from my family.
Really?
Growing up, yeah. I grew up in a culture like, the Robertsons do this, and you're going to be an Eagle Scout, and you're going to do that, and which I feel super blessed to come from that. So I have a hard time wrapping my head around a childhood that seems kind of rudderless, like there wasn't a family culture. How did you look at your family and decide to choose the path that you chose?
So if you had to distill it down, like when you grow up, so I was 6 I'm one of 3 brothers.
Okay.
I'm the youngest.
All right.
And my next oldest brother is 2 years older than me, and then my oldest is 5 years older. And so when you have like a lot of turmoil at home, like with the parents, whether that's like your mom and a step parent or your parents' parents, you end up like, uniting together in a way.
Kids do.
Yeah.
Kids, okay.
At least we did.
Yeah.
For like, we would just be, my mom had to work single parent working, making, $5 an hour as a secretary. And like in the summers, we'd just be left.
Dude, like, so you're like, this is like poverty.
Yeah, in today's standards, total poverty. Like my mom did not believe in welfare. She did not believe in government assistance, and like we never had insurance. Never, just grew up. My dad didn't pay like child support. It was like once in a while he'd be casual about it. It was like so.
Dude, so what are you eating during the day?
We were just pulling it, man. Like cream of wheat and eggs.
Yeah.
But we were just, it was like scrounging. You would scrounge, like I had a brother who would like scrounge the house for change to get like 25 cents. And then we would like walk through 2 deserts to go to like the local arcade. And he could make that 25 cents like last for an hour at the arcade. He was talented, man. So anyway, you kind of, you get pretty tight as siblings. Okay. At least we did. It was because if there was conflict happening at home, we would just take off and go for walks in the streets of Vegas. And a lot of times it was like, I remember, my oldest brother, he just piled us in his truck, and we just drove down the Vegas Strip and stopped at every hotel and snuck into the pool until you get kicked out, and then you just go to the next pool, and we would like do the whole strip. And that was like our life. Like we would snuck into everything, but you become pretty tight. And so, but we did have like this foundation of religion in our life. Like my grandparents were devout, LDS, and came a time in our older teens when my middle brother was going through some pretty hard stuff, drug addiction, and he got out of that and cleaned up his life and ended up like serving a mission for our church.
That's not easy.
And so for me, like we didn't have as much in common, and we weren't as close as me and my oldest brother, but we were pretty close, and I was definitely aware of that. And it meant a lot to me that he was doing something that wasn't all for him. That was like, he went to the Philippines, and I'm just living my life. I was living with like pro skaters in San Diego, and he was in this foreign country, trying to figure it out without toilet paper, and I would get these letters, and I was like, it was just so impressive to me, and so finally he invited me to like study, and like I forget, basically he invited me to kind of read on my own, and
like the Bible, Book of Mormon.
Book of Mormon.
That's cool. Okay, so you're getting letters from your brother. He's in the Philippines. Does he seem happy? Like, I mean, these letters you're getting, how does it make you feel when you see these letters?
Yeah, I'm just totally intrigued by this. Like, it's so foreign. He to get places, he has to like cut through the jungle and like machete through things, and just stories of like crazy creatures and snakes and people that they're helping, and learning a language. Like, that was so, we come from a very like uneducated background. My mom never went to college. My dad did, but like never. I didn't even know my dad went to college, so I was like in my 20s probably. I didn't like, that was at this time he is like full blown, like he's the president of a motorcycle club.
Right now your dad is?
Well, at the time that this is happening,
okay.
which means like it's crazy. Like you're at any given time you're at home and there's like threats of guns showing up at your door.
Is this like Sons of Anarchy? This is
it's straight Sons of Anarchy. Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah, probably a little bit more toned down. It was like a more local kind of smaller club in Vegas.
Yeah.
But we could go into that so far. But what happens is it's like a bunch of middle-aged men that have like high school tribal mentality, and so you just go places and like get into fights for no reason. Like, oh, that dude's wearing this patch, and so he shouldn't be wearing that patch here.
Wait, how old are these guys?
They're like in their mid-40s and mid-50s.
They're like our age and older.
Yo, dude, I have the most amazing stories. I go back and I look at journals. I've like read some journals from when I was a kid, like an adolescent, like maybe like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. And the one thing that stuck out to me when reading some of the stuff I wrote was that I was always a pretty positive person. Like, I was writing what I was grateful for, and I've never really thought of myself as that, but I feel like that's kind of maybe like my intuition is to look at the positives of that. So yeah, I look at it as awesome. Like, it's awesome because I get to I get a wide view of darkness and light, and get to choose and recognize truth and light for what it is, and it's guided me in my decisions in terms of like who I married and what I wanted for my kids. And that's something you're thinking about when you've seen a lot of like family turmoil and darkness. That's what you're thinking about when you're dating people. And I had a hard time with that. Hard time with like relationships, and even wondering if I was okay, if I could have one. As I would get into relationships and with really, really awesome people, and like get to a place where it would get serious, and it needed to go to the next level, and I would crumble with anxiety and I wondered if I was messed up. I was like, dude, am I able to do this? Because it was heartbreaking, and it totally like paralyzed me in ways, and you know, occupied so much of my thoughts and stuff. But what I learned was to like through like the hurt, through the confusion, I would always once I learned true principles, which was like in my early 20s, so like the principle of repentance for one, like that's probably my biggest, I think it's the most important concept you can learn in this life, is like acknowledging weaknesses or faults or mistakes and owning them and knowing that it's okay. That is where the magic happens, is when you confront them and look to do better.
That's really beautiful. I can feel that you have a soft heart.
Yeah.
I mean, we met today in person, but you truly have some softness. I mean, and so I can see that the repentance, that's what it does. It's a turning away from old ways.
Yeah.
Dying every day, becoming new through Christ. I can feel
I
that, man.
I don't think we emphasize it enough.
How do you approach repentance? Like, you know, when you recognize you're doing it, I mean, is it a simple prayer? Are you like you take an account throughout the day?
Yeah, you know, I'm exploring
Dude,
this
we're all
right
exploring.
now.
That's the thing, man. We're not authorities, man. We're authorities on our own lives, but we're just chatting.
Something that has been unexpected for me, but I feel like has happened since in like the last. So I've kind of been on this path for whatever since like 1996. So how long is that? I don't know, 20 something years.
You mean like recognizing light from dark? And
Yeah,
choosing the light?
like being in a relationship with God,
Okay.
being in like a relationship with Christ specifically. That where I felt like I was recognizing and feeling like He's real, and then trying to make choices in my life to be with Him and to have Him in my life, which led to going on a mission, and then, you know, and it led to who I married, and then now it's in my marriage. And so before I got married, it was like I approached repentance more from a totally a personal situation. Most things would be like, you know, a matter of prayer, and if I needed to talk to somebody, you know, like say sorry or something, like have a personal conversation with someone I felt like I did wrong by. And I did a lot of talking to ecclesiastical leaders. And I think confession is a true concept of repentance.
Tell me why.
It's being willing to, it's almost like that thing where you said like you in recent years you feel like you're confronting things and your heart it feels like it's splayed open. It doesn't matter who, it isn't about like the person or like, I think a lot of people look at organized religion and they hate that idea. Like you're not accountable to some dude. Like you gotta go talk to some dude. Like who's that dude? And that's exactly how I felt as like I don't know. Well, just that's how I felt when I was like 20 or 19. I actually went and like an ecclesiastical leader like wanted to meet with me, and I went and met with him, and I was just like, dude, I'm not telling you nothing.
Yeah.
Like, bro, you're good, I'm good, and I had no sense of like obligation to this person. Then I went through my personal experience of study and prayer and like this situation that completely like blew me away. And I was in that same person's office like a year later going, I hope you got time. Freaking close your door. Like, here we go.
Let's go.
Watch this, bro. Like, and I didn't care. It didn't matter who that is. It was just a willingness. It's just a willingness to be. I don't even know what that. I just feel like it's a true principle of like, of when you verbalize or vocalize it to someone who is kind of, what do we say, like they have been set apart as a judge in Israel.
Sure.
And it's just complete openness, complete willingness to let it go, or or want. It shows a desire to be free of it. It's almost symbolic. I don't know. I think there's something.
I think you said it, man. It's a desire to be free of it. If you truly want to be free of your past sins and transgressions, if you truly want to, you can be open and express them, right? I mean, that's being humble. I love that when Christ says, "Be like a little child," and it's willing to submit, willing to be open. You're not holding or hiding. It's like, I'm open. I want to be a vessel. I want to submit to your will.
Yeah, it's like whatever it takes.
Yeah.
I want to be close to Him, and and this is so worth doing. Like, I'm not. That the difference between being close to Him and holding on to this is like laughable compared to the power and the goodness that comes from feeling close to Him.
It's like, how much do you want to be close to Christ? Do you want it more than the embarrassment of the meeting you'll have, confessing? Do you want it more than that, or is it more important to hold on to whatever that is that
and even thinking about it, because it is embarrassing. Like, there's this like aspect of we're humans, and we have these human interactions within institutions, and when you express vulnerable or embarrassing things, it's like embarrassing. But then switch your thinking and go, is that embarrassing, or I mean, like, being free of it and being connected to God and being able to be at play with Him, like to being an instrument with Him. That's like, next to that, it's just like, whatever. Like, I don't, like, who am I embarrassed by? You? Like, like, I don't, what human being is there that could even make me feel embarrassed when I got this? I got God. There's not a soul on this planet that I'm like, that matters that much. Except, so this is where I was going with this. It's like, so that's how I approached it up until I got married. And it's still how I approach it. But I noticed something that I didn't really anticipate was, after I got married, living my life, doing my thing, and I have been prompted probably twice in the last 14 years of marriage, where I have been told by, let's say, the Spirit, that I needed to tell my wife something or talk to her about something that I didn't think, maybe a weakness or something that I didn't think was a big deal. And then that has been hard. That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. But at the same time, I feel like that's the same, that embarrassing thing is still, it's something that's coming from opposition and adversary. If we're going to believe in God, we have to believe that there's an opposite to Him, or an adversary. And I feel like that's just Him. Just trying to, and as soon as you express or like, I believe in 100% honesty with your spouse, and that has been the most powerful and uniting thing in our relationship. And so that's how repentance has changed, or that's how I approach it. And then, if there's things that require, like, going to an ecclesiastical leader, for sure. But that relationship now has become more like, it's almost like she is who I am accountable to.
Mm-hmm.
The first step, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. And you're saying now that, I mean, that's really important to you to be open with your spouse because you can have a clear conscience. I mean, but it's probably really hard. I mean,
that's super hard.
You don't have to go too much detail, but I mean, like one of the things that would stop someone is like losing trust, right?
Yeah.
And that can be really, really difficult. Personally, I believe that trust can be regained as hard as it is, and if both people are focused on Christ and the fruits of that repentance are good, then it can be okay. But that doesn't mean it's not going to be really hard, right?
Yeah, no, totally hard. But I also think that if your partner can see that you're willing to be honest with them, mm-hmm. then that earns more trust.
Right.
Or, like, wow, if he's willing to be open and honest and communicate through these things, then I can expect or I can assume that, like, he's not gonna do other sketchy things and not want to talk about it. Like my companion has a conscience that's really, like, sensitive, and I think that earns more trust. I would think.
No, I believe that.
I feel like that's how it's worked in my marriage.
Yeah.
But
well, that's cool, man. I love this. I love these interviews because we really don't start with an agenda. I don't bring you on because I want to talk about like one specific thing. So, man, I'm just so like blown away by the tangents we get on and the things that come out of it. I mean, it just happens with every guest. I feel so freaking humbled and blessed to just learn from all these good dudes that are chasing the light. As my friend Jared Rowley, he was one of the guys that chased the light. Dude, we haven't even touched your art, and you do rad stuff. Can we go on that just for a minute? Because I want to explore why your art happens the way it happens.
Well, I feel weird even talking about it because the reality of life mm-hmm. is that that's what I thought what my path was coming out of college, and I was really committed, and it was everything. I had an art school, and that was rad, and
it was your own school?
Yeah, me and 3 other dudes.
Oh, cool.
And it was awesome. Like, we did really cool stuff, and made some really cool relationships, and I was doing that, making art, making paintings.
Did you do like big mural stuff, right?
Yeah, well, like big oil paintings.
Yeah,
I sold them out of galleries in New York and Santa Fe.
What was the average canvas size?
They weren't that. It was actually not that big. Like
why,
the average is probably like.
Why in my mind do I remember you doing? I watched Artful.
Oh yeah, we did. My wife and I went to Brazil,
and you did a huge something.
Yeah, kind of. It was funny. We just talked to our guy, our connection out there yesterday, and he told us what our murals are looking like. But, yeah. So it was. This has always been a part of. Ever since I was a kid, I've made drawings, made characters. It was kind of like my outlet. It was like my way to express myself, or like make friends in high school and junior high. But so that's what I thought I was doing. I went, I taught at BYU, had an art school, had gallery paintings, and then got married, and life and things got real, and I freaked out a little bit on the prospect of supporting a family. But at the same time, I was extremely curious and interested in storytelling and movie making. I started studying and listening to tons of movie directors, and I would listen to their creative process, and I was like, this is the coolest thing. It's so I can't even believe how awesome this is. It's so weird. Like, I'd been around, I'd been a part of independent films in the late 90s. Like, it wasn't like I wasn't aware of filmmaking or but I'd never picked up a camera, never had an interest in knowing how cameras work until I was like early 30s. And so we had our first child, and I was like in between these worlds. I like wanted to learn how to shoot stuff and make movies, and I was still painting, and my wife was a professor at BYU, but we were starting a family. And after we had our second child, she needed to be a mom. Like, it was really hard for her to juggle being a full-time professor. And so I dove 100% into filmmaking, content creation. And so the reason I say that is my art making or drawing is very minimal. The coolest thing that I have worked on, like in the last month, and that was the first thing that I've worked on in a long time, is one of a kid I used to teach at church. He just got called on a mission to go to Estonia.
Oh wow!
And I like painted like a custom cover of a journal for him, and I'm gonna give it to him while I'm here in Utah. But
that's rad.
Yeah. And I'm stoked on it. I was like, it was super fun to make, but a total sacrifice. It's like, it's super hard to fit it in to the cracks of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're really good at it, so
Thanks.
It's a testament to how you put everything into what you're doing.
I'd like to figure out how to make it, kind of bring it back.
Dude, it's all seasons, right?
Yeah.
I mean, things are so cyclical. Like, I get into certain hobbies and I'm out, and then I'm in and then out, and I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thanks,
well,
man.
Dude, this has been amazing. I want to have you just share any final thoughts for our brothers out there that may be struggling with something. Like, what does Justin want to leave with?
Man, I feel unqualified, dude. I feel like the most average, not even average, like, person to even be in, like, speaking to you right now. I think I kind of said it is, it's a rough, like, life is rough, right? And I can't, like, I have like the most unbelievably blessed life, but I have a lot of inner, like, struggles and we all do, and I just think, like, the best thing you can do is put God first. And when I say that, I mean put, and this is something I'm working on right now. Like we just moved to Maine. Maine is a gnarly place to live. We live in the woods of Maine. You have to buy a chainsaw. You have to buy a ride-on mower. We're exhausted. Like, I work and then come home and work, like, try to fix, like, there's a flood at our house, and you're, like, trying to, like, keep water from coming in or whatever. It's always something. And so, but the time, I feel like when I say put God first, I mean, like, spend time with His word, like with the words of prophets. Do it every day. This is what I'm doing, right? I'm trying to recommit to, and because there's so many voices and influences in the world, and things that we think are important or that create value, but that is where the value is being connected that way, and that will lead you to do the things that will bring light in your life.
I feel it, man. That's beautiful. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Eric.
I can't wait to come out to Maine and see this riding lawnmower and chainsaw.
Yeah, man. It's good to meet you, man.
Yeah, you're a star.
I like, this is a cool thing. This is awesome.
Cool. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. More importantly, I hope you feel closer to your Creator. If you find yourself wanting to strengthen your relationship with God, I'm a huge fan of the Skylight app. It's full of beautiful, high-quality daily spiritual practices. Finally, never forget, in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him.